Woo wee. What it do, y'all? This is KT. Look, I'm going live solo tonight. So y'all make sure y'all tuned in. Let's get it started.
KTTV, giving you what you need. Motivation, education unleashed. H-Town representing, we forever keep it rolling. Join the conversation with inspirational stories. Thought-provoking, feel that energy. Kendrick Thomas aiming to lift the community. True indeed, tune in, come and see. Giving you what you need. KTTV, let's go. KTTV.
What it do, KTTV family? Look, y'all, we are getting locked in tonight. First time I've done my show on a solo in a long time. So we are in the building. I just want to say welcome to everybody who's watching from the live stream. A real important show tonight, y'all. I'll be talking about the book, kind of talking about the teacher highlights. Last year was pretty good, man. We had some teachers who were celebrated for what they were doing. And when I tell you the emotion, she said it really brought her to tears. So big shouts out to everyone who was a part of that. Big shouts out to everything that was happening, y'all. Been a crazy week so far. We back at work, back in full grind. And so I'm always looking forward to sharing that time and sharing that time with everybody. It is it's one thing to be talking about it and planning for it, but then it's another thing when it's happening every day. So big shouts out to everybody I'm on the battlefield with over at AOC. Like I say, big show for tonight. Really just excited to be able to talk about the work that I've been doing. Shout out to Dr. Paul. He couldn't make it tonight, but we did reschedule. We got a few sections for y'all tonight. So definitely I'll be kind of interviewing myself. I had a friend sit down for me. I said, look, man, I want to talk about my book, but I don't just want to blab. So if you were interviewing me, what questions would you ask? So he sent me some of those questions. And I also have a few questions that people just asked as I was putting the book together. So big shouts out to them. Of course, we got the educator spotlight tonight. And so last week we went inside that A-Leaf. This week, we're going back. Shout out all my people who are celebrating each other in A-Leaf. This is what we need to have. So big shouts out to them for that. Nice parent-teacher corner today. As we talk about the book, Pencil is the least of my words, one big thing is talking about that parent-teacher communication, right? What does that look like? And so even in the book, we talk about that, but we talk about it culturally, right? How does that teacher who has no relation with my culture build that relationship with my family? So we got a lot. A big thing we talk about tonight are education trends and insights. So remember, education is ever evolving. You think about the work that we've done since coming back from the pandemic. There has been a lot of ed tech that is going on. And so we're going to talk a little bit about some of that ed tech that's happening, kind of keep us abreast of everything. So if you're listening, I'll always keep us one notch above the game, steady doing things. And lastly, we'll probably talk about a success story. Like I say, tonight is my first time doing it on the solo. So I want us to be able to get in, kind of talk about some of the work we've done. Just get really a little bit more engulfed in the work. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Ms. Vane. All right, y'all. Last week, if y'all did not know, we had Joseph on, and everything was fine. Backstage, everything was fine. And as soon as I hit the live button, all machines went haywire. So I couldn't get any sound through the board. So last week, y'all know, if y'all see me at Hampshire, y'all know I will turn it up. So last week, we couldn't have none of the sound, none of the boards. And I'm telling you, I was stretched out. But today we are back. And we're going to make this thing happen tonight, y'all. So what we'll do is we'll get into a little quick commercial. And then when we come back, we'll talk about more of the book. All right, we'll be right back, y'all. Yeah. Okay, y'all. Look, we are back. And so the biggest thing I want to talk about tonight was the book, right? So for everybody who did not see, this is the book. Pencil is the least of my worries, and it's unveiling the hidden battles in education by minority boys. But then, not only did I drop the book, I dropped the workbook too. And every time I show these, or either I make a sale or I'm talking to somebody about it, I tell them how excited I am because the book was, man, it's been working ever since 2010, right? So 2010, I moved to College Station, and you think about College Station, you think about Texas A&M. Shout out to Texas A&M, though I love that place, College Station. But so many of those teachers come from Texas A&M into the community, right? And so we have teachers. A&M is, let's keep it real, predominantly Caucasian, white, whatever you want to say. Uh, School, right? So a lot of those teachers going through the education program, good intentions, goodwill, love their craft, and then they come into the community. And so what I saw for students was a lot of sympathy, right? But not a lot of empathy. And so just going through that, and then lo and behold came my internship year as I was doing my principalship, right? Getting my certification, getting my master's. And they let me lead a book study for, it was Principal Kafele's book, right? Motivating minority males to achieve inside and outside of the classroom. So what happened was, from this book, I read it, I kept reading it. So I read it probably about 10 times now, and I said, you know what? I have to start something. And so from that action, I was able to work with teachers, but I was able to help them not only show sympathy when it's time, but don't feel sorry for me, right? Because I feel like when you feel sorry for them, you lowered the bar. You know, if you didn't have materials, it's okay. Go sit down. As long as you're quiet, you don't have to work that day, right? Or either they would write them up for not having materials. Instead of doing that, empathize with me. Understand, like, I may have not eaten since I've been here yesterday. Like, you really just got to know how my life is outside of here. And so then understand that, just give me supplies, keep your supplies ready, available, give me what I need to support my learning, but do not let that accountability leave from what I'm doing. And so that is what the importance of this book was for me. And we're talking about almost 6-7 years in the making, right? And so what I wanted to get into was just a few of the questions that I had. And so the first one was that, can you tell us what inspired you to write the book? And so for me, what inspired me to write this book, um, man, it really was just being around those minority boys, right? Remember, I just told you about this College Station story, but also when I got to the elementary school, um, in the book, Principal Kafele kind of talks about the boys club that he created and an outline for it. So I was able to, in 2013, use this outline for the foundation for my book. I mean, for my boys club, right? And so when I started that, I began to just grow it on the campus. But the inspiration was just understanding that a lot of these students have such traumatic experiences once they dot the door of their school, that we don't need someone to feel sorry for them because then you lower their standard. But we need someone to understand what that's like, be able to understand how that looks inside of their classroom, and then have a reflection piece to say, if it's not happening in my classroom, what do I do? Which is why I created hold on, wait a minute, shameless plug, which is why I created the workbook, because I wanted to make sure that after you get the knowledge, right, after you realize that this is or may not be happening in your class, how do you reflect on it and not just think about their plan, but how do you write down and begin to actualize their plan? So those were some of the inspirations for why I wrote the book. So let's see. The next question you had was, uh, share an example of a story from the book that encapsulates the hidden battles. So when I think about the book, okay, so the way the book is formatted, right, is there you'll get an introduction to the chapter, then you will get a story of a student, and it's a real student. And so just talking about some of the things they've been through. So, of course, I had the story in my head, I had the student in my head, names changed. But then I had to kind of push that story out. So to make it kind of fun for the reader, so you can really get the point. But one of the stories was just about a teacher who had her own biases, right? And so with those biases, she would always discipline the minority boys a little harder than any other students, even the females within the classroom. And so kind of went on through the story. The young man kept getting the referrals, kept getting sent out of class. And so I invited the lady down to one of the boys club meetings, right? And so now, in a sense, because she wasn't really a part of that situation, I don't know if she really humanized the young man like she should. And so by the time she came down to the meeting, kind of seeing these young men for who they are, kind of dove a little bit deeper into some of our conversations. Of course, I had to make sure that the boys agreed with her being there. But then she was able to kind of, like I say, in a sense, I don't know if that's the right word, but humanize that young man and bring him back into the fold. And she told me just that one experience helped change her practice with minority males in her classroom. Because once again, we talking Texas A&M. You may have only dealt with minorities once you came to college, right? None in your full life. And so there was truly a bridge that I had to gap. I mean, a bridge or a gap that I had to fill, which is why I wrote these books. Okay, let's see what else we got here. He said, what can readers expect to gain from reading the book? And so I try to keep it black and white. What I hope that you gain from reading this book is some of the barriers, right, that we have in minority males. And so when we think about this, and I'm talking a lot about the teachers from College Station, right? I'm talking a lot about the white teachers, but at the end of the day, we all have biases, right? And so maybe it's a name that you don't like, or maybe it's something that about this child's family that you don't like. And so, in so many situations, we either have those stereotypes, or we have that bias, or that discipline disparity, or not that home to parent school connection. And so, all of these begin to hinder our students, right? And so, when I think about some of those, when I looked at the stereotyping, and so we'll just go chapter one. And so, I'll give you just a little bit. So when you think about teacher expectations, right? And so implicit bias can influence the teacher's expectations based on the race, the ethnicity, or the socioeconomic background. And so when you think about all of those pieces, that's just one of the barriers that I got to go through. You lowering your expectations for me. Now my growth is stunted, right? Now I'm not performing and achieving as others because I was never pushed. And we have kids that slide from first grade, second grade, all the way through until they get to high school. And by now, that's when they are struggling, correct? So let's get into some comments real quick. Oh, okay. We said Tamika. All right. Hey, Miss Tabitha, how you doing? Thank you for tuning in. I will say students have so much going on these days, most definitely. And like you say, we all have those biases. And so that was why this was so important to just dedicate a chapter to teachers who have those biases. So most definitely. Next question was, let's see here. Can you share one key strategy from your book that listeners can start implementing today? And so if I could share one, it would be create an inclusive classroom intentionally. And so when I'm at work and I'm talking to the teachers, and I tell them, your classroom is set up to get exactly what you're getting, right? So if you set it up for success and you set it up for student growth, student engagement, that's what you're going to get. But if you have not set that class up for that and you're not getting that, then it's not the kids. It's totally on you, right? And so when you're thinking about what it takes to differentiate for students from all walks of life, creating that inclusive classroom where we all know kids who feel more apart and belong perform better. So we want to make sure that we are creating something for everyone to be a part of, not just the students in the middle who is very easy that we don't have to plan a lot for. So that is what I can really give teachers from the book. Just be intentional about creating that inclusive classroom. And so let's see here. So For the listeners who are considering getting the book, could you share how it's different from other educational books out there? Oh my God. I don't think I don't think that it's probably an educational book like this. I'm not gonna lie. This is not a new topic, but for me, when you think about someone who was one of these young men, right? Mom was um, in prison, and in my younger years, so I lived with grandmother. Um, you know, no dad in the picture. Granddad kind of was the go to for me. Had all my grandparents, great parents, great mother, grandmother alive at the same time. So when you think about someone who was that type of kid growing up, been doing this work with young men since at least 2008 inside of school systems. I started in 2001 and I turned to school, but I was really just going through and learning the craft by the time I got 2008. Now I'm more in control. I'm dealing with kids and I'm on another mission. So all of the work that's culminated from 2008 all the way to now is what's went into this book. And so when you have that much heartfelt passion and simple sheer knowledge for what you're doing, I think this book sets itself apart because it's real life data that you can use right then, right? Even something with the reflection piece, where I have the reflection question at the end of the chapter, but that same reflection question is in the bigger workbook that's slated like a sheet of paper. And that was very intentional because I was like, okay, so when we come to the meetings where we're doing our book studies, I don't want you to have to bring your notebook and your books. I want a tool that we can use because practicality is king. So that's how I know that this book is kind of set aside so much passion, man, so much real life. All right. So where can they find your book for our listeners who are intrigued? So kttv.com, people. Go to the website, and the book is there. You can check out my Facebook page. So many places that you can get the book. Just make sure you get to kttv.com. And what we're doing is there is a bundle package. And so if you want to get the book separate, it's a little bit more expensive. But if you want to get the bundle package, that'll work because you'll get the workbook basically free almost. Right. So make sure you get locked in. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for the book. And I want to just highlight that one more time. Here we go. A pencil is the least of my worries. Let me see here. Unveiling the hidden battles faced by minority boys in education. On kttv.com. Make sure you go get locked in with that, people. Very, very important that we are creating inclusive environments. Let's see, Tabitha, she said, why are the expectations lowered? That is baffling to me. For me, Tabitha, I would say it's definitely dealing with, I don't think it's intentionally lowered, but I think I feel sorry for you, right? You know, when I come in and I don't have what I need, or now you know my situation, and well, it's okay. I know you didn't eat yesterday, so you can just put your head down and get you some rest while the other kids are held to a higher standard and they're getting a lesson. So I don't think it's intentional, which is why this book is so important, so that we can bring light to it. And I really give an example of what it looks like in class, right? Because that can happen so many ways. But in this book, I give several examples of how it can happen in your class, even inside of the story, right? It's happening in real time inside of the class. So good question. And if I just hope that they wouldn't be doing it intentionally. That would be the big thing. But unintentionally, I know it's happening all the time. All right, y'all. If you have any more questions on that, anything about the book, please keep them going throughout the show as we talk about different things. What we'll do is get into a quick commercial, and then we will come right back and let's highlight a teacher in the educator spotlight. Y'all stay locked. We'll be right back.
You see the
the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the
All right, y'all. We are back. Look, y'all see we got these teas popping. When I tell you, anywhere that I go. Matter of fact, after I get online tonight, I got a few orders that's going out because people are just loving to celebrate each other. You know, when I decided to go all education, I really wanted to highlight and kind of narrate and change the narrative of what's going on because having a shortage of teachers make you realize that people don't have to be here, right? They don't have to do a lot. So let's keep them going. Let's celebrate each other as much as we can. And when I tell you, these educators have been celebrating each other. They've been buying the shirts. They've been supporting. Shout out to Dr. Rachel Alex tonight. She wore her tee. I'm a product of my and I crossed out environment because we know it's so easy to say I'm a product of my environment, but it says I'm a product of my choices, right? And so I was able to kind of repost that. So big shouts out to her. So now let's jump into our educator spotlight one time. Let's go, y'all. So for this week, I have Mr. Felton Brown, and he's over at Mahaney. Shout out to my friend Miss Johnson for taking the helm on Mahaney. You go, girl. Big thing, Mr. Felton Brown, Mahaney Elementary PE, 25 years in the game. Big shouts out to Mr. Felton Brown. And this comes from Miss Amy Brown, which is a colleague. And so she says about Mr. Brown, this gentleman has been a fantastic PE teacher and mentor to so many for his 25th year at the same school. Oh my God, the brother's been here 25 years at Mahaney. Shout out to you, Mr. Felton Brown, for being 25 years at Mahaney in the district. A-Leaf proud. He provides them with constancy. Go girl. Knowledge, love, and mentorship. It is a very diverse school, and he works very hard for all to feel included. Remember, we just talked about creating that inclusive classroom. Last year, for example, there were an influx of refugees from Afghanistan, and he taught them common words so he could greet them in their native tongue. I'm sorry, he had them teach him common words so he could greet them in their native tongue, right? Remember, how do we increase ownership, feeling of belonging inside the school? This is how we do it, right? We relate. And all it took was learning one word. So now when I come in and I'm of a different language, or my mom comes in and she's of a different language, and this guy says this, how happy and proudful do we feel, right? To be recognized. Shouts out to Mr. Brown. He is a positive role model for all, but especially the boys. In a very female dominated profession, especially at elementary, tell the truth, he has helped guide and mentor a lot of young men. He is fantastic at his job and gets very little recognition. I have watched many years from a distance as you have influenced many. And she's speaking to Mr. Brown. You, Felton Brown, are wonderful at what you do. This is why so many students come back by to see Coach. You were the steady rock and the voice they needed every day for all these years. Thank you for choosing to do what you do. And that was from Miss Amy Brown, who was a colleague. Felton Brown, big shouts out to you at Mahaney Elementary. A-Leaf ISD is in the building. We appreciate you, brother. All right, y'all. Shouts out to Mr. Brown over at Mahaney. Um, anytime that we can celebrate each other, you know it ain't nothing wrong with it. So big shouts out to him. What we'll do, I'll get into another commercial. And when we come back, we'll talk about our parent teacher corner. Be right back. What it do, KTTV? This is KT, and I want to introduce you to my all-new streaming service, KTTV Digital. This streaming service offers more than 1,000 channels, thousands of movies, pay-per-view, and all sports packages. If you're paying hundreds of dollars for cable a month, switch to KTTV Digital and pay less than $1 a day. You heard me right, folks. All this for less than $1 a day. If you're ready to put hundreds of dollars back in your pocket, cut the cord and reach out to me on KTTV.com. 100. Free trials are available. All right, y'all. Man, we are here. 26 minutes. We are in the game. Education Unleashed talk show. Like I told y'all, we riding solo tonight. I just want to thank y'all for showing up. We have so much that we've covered this episode, right? Getting into shout out to Mr. Felton Brown over Mahaney. I've talked a lot about the book tonight. Make sure that if you have not, you went and checked it out. Pencil is the least of my worries on kttv.com. Also, man, look, this is for your teachers, right? This will help give them a toolkit so they can recognize some of the things that is going on in their class. I will just, Chapter 1, unmasking implicit bias, right? Chapter 2, breaking stereotypes. Chapter 3, bridging the discipline gap. Chapter 4, raising expectations. Chapter 5, bridging the divide. When I tell you, these are some powerful chapters inside of this book, I'm telling you, every time someone asks, I say I'm so proud of it, right? Because this is a tool. It's a book. You got your stories, but this is a tool for teachers to be able to actualize what's happening in their classrooms, what's happening in their lives, and how are they seeing the students that they serve. So big shouts to everybody for that. All right, so now we'll get into a little bit of our parent-teacher corner. So what I wanted to focus on with this was also fostering the connection between home and school, right? When you think about the channel, it's bridging the gap between the school and the community. So that's what we aim to do here. And so while we're doing that, hold up, y'all, let me get a few things going here. So while we're doing it, one way of doing it is being able to have something where parents and teachers can collaborate. And so as the work grows, I'm really looking forward to being able to have maybe a parent and a teacher on at the same time. And so then they are talking about the work that we're doing together. And it's not just me giving some dialogue from what I believe we should be doing as a team, right? Because we all know that their parent and their teacher, that's our teammate. So we got to make sure that we're acting as such. So tonight talks about open communication. So open communication between parents and teachers is the cornerstone of student success. When the parents and the teachers collaborate, a powerful alliance is formed. And so what does that alliance do? Nurtures the child holistic development. Because remember, in the book, we're not just talking about behavior, right? We're not just talking about academics. We're not just talking about social skills, but we are talking about the full holistic development. So when that communication is transparent and consistent, it ensures that parents are well informed about the child's progress, the challenges, and the achievements. When that communication connection is tight, it creates the environment where parents can actively participate in their child's education. And so remember what I said, we always want that active participation. We always want the parents. I remember 2013, maybe 2012, we went to Belize with PV. What was our work in Belize about when we worked at the University of Belize? Parent school connection. They were dealing with the same thing. They could not get parents to come do the buy-in. So this synergy promotes tailored support and strategies that enhance learning outcomes. Moreover, open dialogue fosters trust and mutual respect, reinforcing a sense of unity focused on the student's growth. So ultimately, when parents and teachers work together, the educational journey becomes a shared endeavor, cultivating a more vibrant and enriching experience for the student, right? And so that is what we talked about in the parent teacher corner, all about communication, what it does for your child. So make sure that if you have not, you are at your school. All right, hold on. We got a book. We got a question here. It says, will your book help parents navigate any part of the child's daily journey? That is a very good question. So this book is also geared for parents, right? Because I want you to understand what could be going on in the class. And so these are the things that we can talk to our kids about in school. So if you're seeing any of these things that is happening in your class, I want you to be able to kind of talk to me about it, right? Or if you're seeing anything in this class, how do we empower that student to go and talk to the teacher about it? Because once we're aware, then yes, most definitely that helps that child on their daily journey. Because from discipline disparities, right? He now know how to recognize that, okay, for some reason, I've been the only one. And so maybe that's a perception, but at least now as a parent, you get to talk to that teacher about it, right? When you think about these stereotypes, what do you look for? In the book, it tells you in class what the teacher could be doing to show that there's a problem toward their student. So most definitely it helps. And so that's that question again. Will your book help? Yes, most definitely. Parents will read the book. They know what's going on in the class. As a special education teacher, that was one of my biggest things. Like, how do I teach parents the art process? Know what to look for, know what to ask, right? This book is no different. When we're talking about minority males inside of the classroom, this book helps parents by giving them look fors, right? So giving the conversation points to have with their child. If you're seeing this more in your class, what are discipline disparities, right? Um, Stereotypes, bias, like she never calls on me. And so then that's a conversation. So are you seeing this? Do you think it's this? So most definitely, I encourage parents as well as educators to be able to get inside of this book and kind of see how young men are maneuvering inside of the schoolhouse. So most definitely, especially thinking about chapter 5, right? Fostering that connection between the home and the school. So that talks a lot about what parents can do to be able to build that bridge from the school into the community. So most definitely, awesome question, Ms. Tabitha. All right, y'all. What we'll do, I want to get into a little bit of our education trends and our insights. And so for tonight, what we're going to do is we'll talk about some of the latest developments and shifts in the world of education, diving into some of the most pertinent trends and the insights that are shaping the way we approach teaching and learning. So once again, I told you, if y'all stay locked in, I will do my research each week to kind of put us ahead of the game, to have us thinking a little bit different, to stand up on top of things. And so big shouts out to us for that. Big shouts to, hey, big shouts out to us for staying together, y'all. Let's work this thing. So technology indeed has become a game changer. Educators are leveraging digital platforms to create engaging and interactive lessons. Remember, we still got the Zoom, still using our Teams, we're still using, we got so many programs now, right, that have popped up because as we're moving to a digital world, woof. So you think about your virtual field trips, you got online simulations, you even have collaborative projects with people working, I guess, across the waters, right, across borders. So these are just examples of how this process has been, I guess, magnified, right? So when we think about those trends, I challenge you to say, as an educator, what are you doing to bring your classroom up to the 21st 20? Is it? I don't even know what century this is. I'm like, but what are you doing to bring your classroom up to date to be on time with the kids? Right. Most classes now are standard for setting up their tech, but how intentional are you about using that tech? Right, being a tech teacher, right? Not just the school-based programs that everyone is using. How are you differentiating and being more creative inside of your class to bring in students and have them more engaged, right? And so that brought me to some books. I mean, not books, but some articles that I was reading earlier. And so when we talk about engagement, I was looking at the article inside of Education Week, and it says, "Do teachers have to be entertainers?" Is that not a deep question? It says, "Do teachers have to be entertainers?" And so the term student engagement is used so frequently in K-12 education that it's beginning to feel cliche. I mean, I don't think that statement can go cliche because I mean, if kids are not engaged, nobody is learning. So I think that is forever going to be a real word in education. Um, Now they're saying that there's no learning without student engagement, defined as degree of attention, curiosity, interest, optimism, and passion that students show when they're learning or being taught. And we know this extends to the level of motivation they have to learn and the progress in their education. And so they're saying that students in higher grades have disturbingly low numbers of engagement. So in a 2013 Gallup poll, it says approximately 500,000 students, mostly elementary, and we know how that goes. 8 in 10 reported feeling engaged in school, but by high school, just 4 in 10 felt engaged. And so this Gallup poll was conducted 5 years later and resulted in similar findings. Three-quarters of fifth graders surveyed report high levels of engagement. By high school, just one third. And this was before the isolation of the pandemic and the use of cell phones. So the question is, what's happening in between elementary, right? When you are entertainer in elementary, right? You're gonna sing, you're gonna dance, you're gonna use voices, puppets, you're gonna use anything you can in elementary. But by high school, I think we put a lot of the learning back on the students, right? And so almost it seems like the older we get, the less we worry about engagement. And so this poll is showing exactly what we're talking about. Um, Fifth graders felt high levels of engagement, but by high school, only one third of the students surveyed still felt engaged. So I would say, what do we feel is creating that lack of engagement? I do know a few friends who have moved from elementary to secondary, and so they do realize the difference, right? They do understand. Whereas learning is so fun in elementary and it's so colorful, by middle school, kids have mustaches and they have puberty, right? And so they have so many friends who may or may not be pushed in the same way. And so by high school, I think if we don't have programs, if we don't have extracurricular, if we don't have parent engagement, we begin to lose those students. And so I do think, though, also as educators, at what point did we stop taking the fun out of secondary education? And when we know not necessarily the dance or the song that we would use in elementary, but we have to meet those students where they are too. I don't feel like it should be such a big drop from elementary to high school when we think about engagement. So while I don't think educators are entertainers, I do think it takes some level of entertainment to keep those kids engaged, man. You know, it's like an actor. Every morning I come in, I have my earphones in, I got my glasses on, and I told them I'm about to go change into Mr. Thomas. And so then when I come back, you know, it's just a whole different aura. And I think we have to come in, bring our full selves, but then we got to understand that it's time to switch over and kind of give our babies what they need. And you know what district you work in, you know where you work. And so you know the level of engagement that these students need, you know. And so one lady said decades ago, the expectation was that when you go to class, you pay attention. There weren't the distractions there are now, other than the bulb and the whole overhead projector going out. Now there are so many distractions, and I agree there are so many distractions. You're right. We got the BYODs, right? We got everybody online, so you got to monitor who's doing Gmail or who's doing Google. So all of these pieces are so important. But once again, why do students have that much downtime to be able to kind of go through those pieces? And like I said, elementary, we're so engaged, we're so singing, but when it comes to secondary, there's not a lot. And so when you think about 4 out of 10 students versus 8 out of 10 in elementary, how do we bring that same energy, keep that same energy inside of those high school classes? And so that is what I would challenge. What you say, engagement is needed for all students, K through 12, and that is how they prepare for college. Most definitely, I agree. That is it. And so they say, when we talk about the fine line between engaging and entertaining, she acknowledged that she does her best to bring energy and positivity to a classroom and to make her instruction engaging, but she stopped short of describing her strategy as entertaining. Remember, the question I asked was, are educators entertainers? Right? And so she said other educators, however, do make that leap. Aaron Bishop, a longtime history teacher at Rancho Cucamonga, is one of them. He says entertaining comes naturally. When he's not trying to connect with teenagers in his classroom, he works as a dancing dinosaur and a mascot. So once again, how much, right? And when you think about that, I wonder, is his classroom successful? Not because he's being the dinosaur person, right? But because he's doing what it takes to build those connections. You know, and so even if it's not entertaining, when I tell you, when I was in elementary, if I looked at Pepper the Pig just to be able to have conversations with students in time of crisis, but that's what it takes, right? So if I had to get up and act like a transformer or whatever, and so that's what we go in and talk about a little bit in the next piece, relationship building. Engaging with kids starts with your relationship with them. If you have a good relationship, they know you care about them, they are going to be so much more engaged. And so I agree with that statement, but we all know that's just one part, right? So having that connection makes you a little less willing to totally disregard and disrespect the whole setup. But at the same time, I still understand that you're a kid, right? And so then I must be present and authentic, which is what the lady says in the article. But she says they do not need to strive to entertain, especially if it's not their natural disposition. Once again, I just asked, is the guy who does the entertainment and the dancing dinosaur class more successful because that's his background? And remember what I said, in the upper grades, I don't think it's all about the dog and pony show, but I do think it's about doing what those students need inside of that community that you serve, to be able to keep them engaged and have fun in your class. Some kind of way. It seems like as we got into so much accountability, I feel like we left out the fun, right, in education. So how do we get back to fun? And not necessarily teachers or educators, but how do we get back to the fun that's supposed to be in our classroom? And so Tabitha says, we do not use the distractions to teach them how to be mindful and focused. No, we don't. I agree with that. That's one way. But once again, that's why it's so important to build those social skills, right? To build those learning skills. But yeah, that's just one of these articles that I was into tonight. And so I wanted to share a little bit about that as we got into the stories. So now, what we'll do, like I said, we'll go through, take a quick break, and then I want to get into one quick success story for a student. And so this is one of the students, and someone sent this story in. So I told you everything that comes in is either from the community or one of my educator colleagues. And so every time we change the names to protect the names of the innocent, But they are real stories. So I look forward to sharing this. Hold on, we do get a. They need to strive to connect all the way through starting at kinder and ending at college. I agree. We talked a few years about doing I think it's a longitudinal study of elementary kids and kind of tracking them, gearing them toward educators early, but also being able to see what ticks them, right? So most definitely, we have to make sure that we stay connected from elementary all the way to and through college. And like I say, when we look at the numbers, 8 out of 10 in elementary feel engaged, 4 out of 10 in secondary feel engaged. So getting back to student engagement. All right, y'all. Shouts out to Tabitha for man coming up with some good questions tonight. Man, keep doing your thing. All right, so what we'll do, take a quick break, and when we come back, quick success story, and then we're gonna start landing this plane, y'all. It's been a good hour, just me tonight, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I had fun.
You see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up. You see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and
Look, I had to put on some of the male educator shirts, right? Everywhere I go, the dudes say, man, they got all these school shirts, pink. What about something for the fellas? I said, fellas, I got y'all. And so, man, all across the country, male educators have been buying the shirt. Well, I'm not gonna lie, y'all. It's not the male educators buying the shirts. It's the wives who buying the shirts for the male educators. But that's okay. Y'all keep doing what y'all doing. I appreciate it. Now, our last segment for tonight is a student success story. And so, if you all have any, please don't hesitate to email me, kttv.com. Go to the link. We have a educator spotlight. You'll see the link on the Facebook page. I'm also going to create a page for the website so that we can keep highlighting our teachers. And so some kind of way. Tonight, once again, big shouts out to Felton Brown and Mahaney. The brother has been in the game for 25 years at the same school. And so let's see here. Shout out to Miss Amy Brown, who shouted him out. So now, as we talked about our inspiring educator stories, let's talk about a little story about a student named Maya. So a young student named Maya stood out not just for her academic excellence, but for her incredible resilience. So Maya was raised in a challenging environment. She faced many obstacles that could have easily hindered her progress. However, her determination to rise above her circumstances was unwavering. With the support of her dedicated teacher, Mr. Anderson, shout out to our male I told you, our male educators, man. Big shouts out to the male educators. So, with the support of her dedicated teacher, Mr. Anderson, Maya embarked on a transformational journey. Mr. Anderson recognized her potential and tirelessly worked to create nurturing classroom atmosphere where Maya's strength could flourish. Remember, we're talking about the book. What was my number one tip that teachers can use today? Create inclusive classrooms. Be intentional about that. And so this is another story of what happens when we create those classes. Mr. Anderson recognized her potential and tirelessly worked to create that nurturing classroom atmosphere through personalized attention, through encouragement, and creating teaching methods. Maya not only excelled academically, but also discovered her passion for art. Her artwork soon adorned the school walls, inspiring her peers and teachers alike. So Maya's story is a testament to the impact of dedicated educators who recognize and nurture the unique potential within every student, turning challenges into stepping stones for success. So shouts out to the teacher that sent me this story. I mean, when I said we keep the names changed, but big shouts out to the educator who sent me this story. Big shouts out to the student who this educator was able to impact and change the life of. Remember what I said, y'all, it's all about being intentional, creating an inclusive classroom, but then building those relationships. And to go back to that story, teachers, I don't know, y'all tell me, are teachers entertainers? They said teachers are not entertainers. So I don't think it has to be entertaining, but what are you doing to build a better relationship and connection with the community that you serve? And so I think that would do it for us tonight, y'all. I want to say shout out to everybody who take the time to tune in, everybody who took the time to participate. If you have not, make sure that you are going to pick up the book. A pencil is the least of my worries. Such a great book, such a tool for our educators and our parents. So shout out to Tabitha for helping me, just really gonna get that out there too. Such a tool for educators and our parents. So many chapters in here. I told you I'll run through the chapters again. So chapter 1, unmasking implicit bias. Chapter 2, breaking stereotypes. Chapter 3, bridging the discipline gap. Chapter 4, raising expectations. Chapter 5, bridging the divide, right? And so that's fostering the collaborative partnership with families. In here, I give teachers and parents tools, right? What does this look like? Is it happening? Is it not happening? I give stories of what it looks like when it's happening, right? And then we also give reflective pieces of what that looks like. And we give teachers an opportunity to reflect on it when we use the workbook, correct? So if you have not been to kttv.com, go check that out. Go to the Facebook page. Get locked in, y'all. It's just so much. So we're going to keep on pushing that. Next week, we'll come back with our guests. We'll have an interview. I won't be interviewing just me, but I'm telling you, we done rolled this thing out. We got Sheila in the building. Hello, Coach. What's happening, Coach? Miss Sheila here. Look, y'all, Monday nights is locked in. It's locked in. So make sure y'all get locked in with Sheila. Thank you for the congratulations on the book. Like I told him, what separates this book aside from normal education books is passion, right? I was one of these students that I talk about in this book. I've been working with these students since 2008 hard. Since 2013, when I dedicated just a full life's work to it. And so here we are, 2023. And we're talking about a book that's been 6 years in the making, but the tool is here. So y'all make sure that y'all get locked in. Once again, I want to appreciate everybody for, man, just coming on and talking. Hey, thank you, Michelle. I appreciate it for just coming on and being a part of tonight. My first time going live since the radio show, where I've been here for the full time. And between the segments, man, we're just gonna keep it going. But moreover, before I get out of here, another shout out to Mr. Felton Brown, Mahaney Elementary. All right, so you got one on your hands. 25 years, same school. Big shouts out to Felton Brown, A-Leaf ISD representing. All right, y'all, we're going to get out of here. I told you, I got these shirts over here to make, so we're trapping. We'll get out of here, and I want to say thank everybody for tuning in. I'll see y'all next week. We'll be back with more guests, more segments, more teacher highlights, more student success stories. So make sure, if you have not put in, go to kttv.com, get locked in, find the Google Doc on the web page, submit an educator. It could be an educator in your family, it could be an educator in your school, somebody you know that's making a change and difference in students' lives. And let's give them their flowers while they are here, not when it's too late. Hey, thank y'all so much. All right. It's KT for KTTV signing out. 100.
This is Darnell with Broadcast Houston.
This is Dr. Tamara Beckford.
Hey, this is Candy.
This is London Underwood.
This is Kirsten Bass with Inner City Greens, and you're watching.
Y'all are now tuned in to
KTTV.
KTTV.
KTTV. Is that right?